Between the hours of 2 and 3 p.m. on Sunday, the 14th of February 1988, a man searching for cans found the decomposing body of a female inside a dumpster just off of Kaiser Road, located near to the bypass and Old Perkins Road in the north of Millen, Jenkins County, Georgia. Shocked by what he had found, the man rushed back to his vehicle to inform his girlfriend of the grisly find, and in turn, the duo contacted another friend who joined them. Following this, Jenkins County authorities and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation were informed of the situation. The couple did notice a, quote, small brown vehicle at the site. However, it left shortly afterwards. Though unknown at the time, another individual had noticed a foul odour emanating from the dumpster. However, they decided not to venture any further, to merely satisfy their own curiosity. The naked female victim was discovered wrapped in plastic and various bedding materials inside a large nylon duffel bag, her feet bound together with duct tape. It was believed by investigators that the ornate light green pillow with floral designs and maroon duvet of a similar design may have belonged to someone who lived or worked with Jane Doe and possibly originated from Korea. The bedding also had a rosette swirl satin design in the cloth. Plain sheets and a light blue towel with butterfly embroidery were also found within the dumpster, as was a half-empty gas canister, though it is unclear whether it is somehow related to this particular case. The duffel bag itself had a distinct zipper pattern with steel wheels. Authorities believed that Jane Doe had died 4 to 7 days prior to being found. However, an autopsy determined her cause of death as inconclusive, as no external injuries were found on the body, nor any evidence of bloodshed or sexual assault. There were also no drugs in her system, and she appeared to be in good health at her time of death. It is believed, however, by authorities at the time, that Jane Doe was a victim of homicide by means of asphyxiation, with some believing that the bedding found with her, which included a pillow, may have been used to smother her. It was highly probable that the woman had been killed elsewhere before being discarded at the dumpster. According to investigators who later had forensic artists create sketches, both hand-drawn and digital, of the woman, the female victim was of Asian or Asian-Caucasian admixture, though she was initially thought to be Hispanic, and there was initial speculation that she may have also been Native American. She was estimated to be somewhere between 16 and 25 years of age, standing between 5 foot and 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing between 135 and 145 pounds. She had long, straight, thick, dark brown to black hair and most likely brown eyes. Unfortunately, Jane Doe appeared to have no distinguishing marks or features which could help in identifying her, though her legs had been recently shaved and both of her ears were pierced. Jane Doe's teeth were in good condition, and most notably her upper teeth were crooked. One of her lower molars also appeared to have been extracted shortly prior to death, though the socket itself had healed. Unfortunately, DNA was not taken from the victim, as they were cremated before this could occur, and a full set of fingerprints were not available. Only a single fingerprint could be taken from the decedent's body. With that being said, however, her dentals were taken and available for comparison following her discovery. Any DNA which was later found on items of interest did not meet the standard requirements to be entered into the CODIS system, leaving the case at a frustrating dead end for many years to come. The Jenkins County Sheriff, Robert Oglesby, told the Cold Case Project regarding the horrific tragedy, quote, This town here has always been a small community, close-knit. Everybody knows everybody. The first thought you think is, ain't nobody around here do that. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, due to the fact that Jane Doe was found in a decomposed state, they believed that the artistic renderings and reconstructions of the young woman known as Jenkins County Jane Doe may not have been entirely accurate, which may have hindered their initial efforts to identify her. Following Jane Doe's discovery, authorities received a number of tips and leads from the public, including the mention of someone resembling Jane Doe who had disappeared following a filicide where a father murdered his children and his girlfriend disappeared. This woman also owned similar bedding to the bedding found in the dumpster. However, despite processing this promising lead, it led nowhere. Some believed that Jane Doe may have been a migrant who possibly landed on American soil in Florida before arriving in Atlanta, Georgia in the search of employment. It was entirely possible that Jane Doe arrived undocumented, though this could not be verified. A number of migrants stayed at a camp in a Millen forest, arriving in February of 1988, though whether all were accounted for following Jane Doe's death was unclear. There was also the possibility that Jane Doe may have been the victim of human trafficking, possibly having to work in the sex trade or at a massage parlour, as the bedding resembled a number of bedding designs used in that particular line of work at the time. According to two children who played near to the crime scene on February 12th, they saw a similar brown vehicle to the one initially reported by the couple who found Jane Doe's remains. The children told the police that they had heard a female in distress and heard her cry out something similar to "my baby" before witnessing a middle-aged couple throwing something into the dumpster. Something interesting to note here is that most of the dumpsters in Millen were out of sight, and their locations were only known to local residents. Many speculate whether the person or persons responsible for the woman's death lived nearby, though it was clear Jane Doe was not from Millen itself, as the area had a very low population of Asian residents. Also, the dumpster was emptied as usual the Friday prior at approximately 11 a.m, meaning that the woman had not been placed in the dumpster until at least after the 12th of February. According to numerous sources, a man named Johnny Young contacted Georgia police and confessed to the murder of Jenkins County Jane Doe. He had by this time been a long-term person of interest in this particular case. Police managed to track down Johnny, who was allegedly a drug trafficker in New Jersey. However, upon questioning him, he claimed that he never made said phone call to the authorities. According to investigators, Young was known to be acquainted with a Puerto Rican woman who resembled Marla Lawson's initial sketch of the victim, but whether this person was the woman in question isn't clear. Young and the Puerto Rican woman left shortly afterwards, after a substantial amount of money was stolen. Who committed this heinous crime and why is a point of discussion here. According to the Doe Network, a brownish gold carpet fibre was found on some of the tape used to bind Jane Doe's ankles together. Where the fibres came from is unknown, though some speculate it was similar to the carpet found in the residence of Johnny Young. A number of serial killers have been suspected in this case and not necessarily ruled out, including America's most prolific killer, Samuel Little. Unfortunately, the killers in question have no definitive links to this particular murder. In recent years, as DNA technology advanced, the evidence collected in this case were sent away for re-examination, and requests were made to bring the case files out of storage so the case could be looked at once again with a fine-tooth comb. In 2018, this was exactly what happened, and as a result of investigators' stoic efforts, Jenkins County Jane Doe was finally identified, thanks to advancements in forensic DNA technology. After 35 years, on October 23, 2023, with the assistance of Othram, a Texas-based company that uses advanced DNA technology to solve cold cases such as these, and fundraising efforts to run the tests made by Project Justice, Jane Doe was identified through forensic-grade genome sequencing after Othram scientists managed to create a DNA profile of the woman from a DNA extract from a blanket found at the scene. A genealogy team then followed a number of investigative leads, which led to the woman's positive identification. Jane Doe was publicly named by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation as Chong Un Kim, a 26-year-old woman originally from Korea who had been living just south of Savannah and near Fort Stewart in Hinesville, Liberty County, Georgia, at the time of her death, approximately 91 miles southeast from where her body was disposed of in Millen. She had emigrated to the United States in 1981 and had lived in Hinesville for a number of years. According to the Chief Development Officer of Othram, DNA found on the blanket, which was found alongside her remains, was used to help identify Kim. Following her identification, an appeal was made to the public for more information about her and the events leading up to her death. Sadly, there is very little to go on, but the investigation is ongoing. Though Jane Doe was positively identified, many questions still remain, mainly who is responsible for Kim's death and what happened prior to and following her murder. Obtaining an accurate timeline of events remains a crucial focus in the investigation, as authorities believe it will help put the pieces of the puzzle together. They wish to learn more regarding Kim's associates and anyone who came into contact with her around the time of her untimely death. We do not know for certain how Kim met her demise, who killed her and disposed of her body in a dumpster without a care. Why did the perpetrator murder a young woman in cold blood? Chong Un Kim had family and friends, both in the States and back home in Korea. She had a life which was so cruelly stolen from her. Justice still awaits, with her killer still hidden in the shadows. It seems that authorities are no closer to finding out who killed Chong Un Kim, but her family continue to seek justice to this day. In a statement released by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they said, quote, "There is still work to be done to solve the mystery surrounding Kim's death, and we will work relentlessly to bring justice and closure for her family." If you have any information regarding the death of Chong Un Kim, which could be useful to the authorities, you can call the Jenkins County Sheriff's Office at 912-871-1121.